It's Thursday, July 8th, and this is your Barbados Today evening news update. Barbados' death toll from COVID-19 increases by 1, and for the second straight day, new infections are in the double digits. Health officials confirmed that a 79-year-old man succumbed to the viral illness at the Harrison Point facility, bringing the total number of deaths to 48. Meantime, 11 new cases, 4 females and 7 males were identified from among the 679 tests conducted by the Bastos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Wednesday. There are now 40 people in isolation. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George tells Barbados Today he's concerned.
Over the last 5 days, we have had a total of 37 new positive cases in Barbados. This is on a 5-day period, and I include the results from yesterday, which have not been released just yet. Barbados is seeing an uptick with respect to the number of COVID cases. The challenge is that we are getting not only cases within Barbados, but a few of those cases have come through our ports of entry, which is Grantley Adams International Airport. However, the overwhelming majority of the cases, because I think that of those cases, 5 to 6 of them were cases that came through our ports of entry, which is Grantley Adams International Airport. The rest of the cases are persons who are identified as locals, and therefore we're still in a situation where COVID is being transmitted from person to person in Barbados. We have identified additional clusters which we are trying to make sense of at this point in time. It is a work in progress.
He also revealed that the number of persons in isolation appears set to rise. Dr. George again urged Barbadians to keep their guard up and to stop disregarding the COVID-19 protocols.
We estimate by this afternoon we will, with our contact tracing, we will have over 70 persons who have been identified as primary contacts who will be put into hotel quarantine. It is a work in progress. The teams are working extremely hard during this uptick. But again, based on information reaching the Ministry of Health through the COVID monitoring unit, I would like to implore Barbadians to do better. We have seen that persons have been, I don't know if they've become complacent, but they are disregarding the protocols which they have come to know and understand so well.
In other news this Thursday, 11,000 customers are still in the dark following the passage of Hurricane Elsa 6 days ago. Managing Director of the Barbados Light and Power Company Limited, Roger Blackman, gave the update at a media briefing today. However, he says power should be fully restored within the next 5 to 7 days.
In terms of the time frames, these, as we go through the assessment, some jobs will be more complex than others, some a little simpler, and so it has been somewhat challenging to predict. But we are thinking that within the next 5 to 7 days that we should complete or be very close to completing restoration.
The BLMP official says the power company is still unable to put a tally to the damage of its infrastructure at this stage, but he assured the company won't be passing on that cost to customers.
For events like this, we would hold insurance. Actually, for some time now, like many other utilities across the world, certainly those that are in areas prone to hurricanes, it is commercial insurance for wires and poles is not available essentially. So many utilities have had to come up with their own solutions to deal with that. And in our case, and like some others in the region, we would have established a self-insurance fund. We also have a captive insurance company, and so basically the damages and costs associated with the event will be covered under insurance, to answer your question.
The Barbados Water Authority says it has recovered from the impact of Hurricane Elsa and its pumping stations are now operating at full capacity. In a statement today, the BWA says water is flowing from the taps of 98% of its customers. Marketing Officer Yvette Harris-Griffith said it will now turn its attention to communities without a constant supply of water.
There are, however, areas to which the water supply has not been restored, and our teams are fully focused on attending to those districts experiencing outages. We remind our customers to be mindful and conservative in their use of water, which, in recent days, has been much higher than normal and has resulted in low levels at some of our reservoirs. A more measured use of water by persons should help in the efforts to allow levels in the reservoirs to return to normal. The authority's tanker fleet will continue to assist customers and refill community tanks on a daily basis around the clock. Remember, storing water for your own household needs at this time of year is crucial.
Barbados gets the thumbs up for its renewable energy drive. President of the Conference of Parties COP26, Alok Sharma, who visited the island today, praised the country's ambitious plan to be fully powered by renewable energy by 2030. In a joint press conference this morning with Prime Minister Mia Mottley, the COP president said he was impressed by the work the small island developing states had put into lowering their carbon footprint and chided the bigger countries, saying they have a greater role to play in combating climate change.
COP26 will deliver for the countries most vulnerable to climate change. I recognize the unique vulnerabilities and challenges that small island developing states face, and I will continue to advocate for their priorities. And we must see urgent action to protect the lives and livelihoods of people here. Ahead of COP26, we need the G20 countries to follow the example shown by the small island developing states and the G7 nations and make net zero commitments and ambitious nationally determined contributions. We have less than 4 months to go until COP26, and I look forward to working closely with the Prime Minister and friends here in Barbados towards a successful COP26 that delivers for those who are most vulnerable to climate change and ultimately to safeguard our planet. Thank you.
She also says climate justice is needed for small island developing states so they are not left to suffer the effects of climate change.
I don't speak about climate change, we speak about a climate crisis, because that is what it is for us. And what is demanded at this stage is climate justice. We believe that the inhabitants of small island states like Barbados have to face the reality that while we did not create these burdens, while we remain on the front line, we have to raise our voices to be able to make it clear that we cannot close the gap on our own. And this is not a plea for us to be begging, but it is a reality that the gap that is required, especially on adaptation and not only mitigation, cannot be closed on the basis of our own fiscal efforts alone. To the extent that you are here, I believe that your visit is a genuine recognition that small island developing states are truly on the front line. And I want to thank you for that sensitivity, because it is so easy to talk about us rather than to engage with us.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
To regional news, authorities in Haiti said they have arrested 2 people in connection with the assassination of President João Moïse. 4 other suspects were killed in a gunfight with security. Moïse was killed at his home early on Wednesday. His wife was injured and had to be taken to the U.S. for treatment. Al Jazeera's Rosalind Jordan reports from the U.S. capital, Washington, D.C.
The family of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse will not be able to hold an open casket funeral. Assassins shot him several times in the head in front of his wife and daughter early on Wednesday. Later that night, police arrested these 2 men in the Pétionville neighborhood of Port-au-Prince. They killed 4 other suspects. 3 officers were briefly held hostage during the raid. Moïse's killing upset local residents.
Imagine we live in this area close to the president. Even when we have problems with the president, we can't imagine they will kill him like this.
I heard something go boom, like an earthquake. I thought something under the soil had been turning.
The interim prime minister urged Haitians to remain calm.
I have already spoken about the state of the siege declared. The president's body has already been transported into the morgue in the capital. The first lady is out of danger and is being treated in Florida. As per the latest information, her state is stable.
Moïse's death came as he was in the middle of a political crisis. Parliament had been suspended for the past 2 years, and opponents accused Moïse of trying to undermine the Constitution.
On the international front, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky says the U.S. COVID-19 cases are up by 11% over last week, as the highly infectious Delta variant becomes the dominant coronavirus strain in the country.
Yesterday, CDC reported a little over 14,000 new cases of COVID-19. Our 7-day average is about 13,900 cases per day, and this represents an increase in cases of nearly 11% from the prior 7-day average. The 7-day average of hospital admissions is about 2,000 per day. This also represents an increase of about 7% from the prior 7-day average. And the 7-day average of daily deaths is about 184 per day. These numbers and what we are seeing across the country reveal two truths about the current state of the pandemic. On the one hand, we have seen the successes of our vaccination program over the last 8 months, with cases, hospitalizations, and deaths far lower than the peaks we saw in January. And yet, on the other hand, we are starting to see some new and concerning trends. Simply put, in areas of low vaccination coverage, cases and hospitalizations are up. Meanwhile, the Delta variant is spreading rapidly throughout the country. This week, the Delta variant is estimated to be the most prevalent variant in the United States.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media's in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Capital Media HD 99.3.